Welcome back. In the last session, we promised that we could show you how DuctQuote can automatically size your duct system for you. Now, in DuctQuote, there's three ways to set the size of the duct. The first is you decide and you draw it in the size you want. As you saw, we can select sizes here on the right. Now, the second way, which doesn't rely on you knowing exactly what the flow rates and all of the variables involved are, the second way is to have DuctQuote do the calculation for you. Now, to do this, you only need to know two things. Number one would be the size of the drops. And most often this is defined by the connection that you're going to have on your equipment. Most people call those the ports. Now, the target velocity of the system is the second variable that we need to know for DuctQuote. It's going to depend on your application. So, for example, wood dust removal is typically done with a target velocity somewhere around 4,500 feet per minute, or FPM, while fume removal may have a target velocity of only 3,000 feet per minute. So let's use this second method to have DuctQuote size or calculate our system. So here we have the system that we drew in the last session, and we're going to have the system size this based on these vertical drops. Now recall, this is where we're connecting to our collector. So we're going to have to define the size or port size of these three drops. So let's start over here. On this first one, we're going to set this to 6 inches. And it's already set there, as I see here, under diameter. So we can move on to the next. On this second one, I'm going to set that to 4 inches. And then the third drop over here, we're going to set that to 8 inches. Okay, now, don't worry about the odd-looking reducers and things that are coming in, because as I said, we're going to have DuctQuote do this for us. So over on the Calculation tab, we're going to open this up, and we're going to pretend that this is, in fact, a wood dust application. So we're going to use 4,500 feet per minute. Now, again, there's two settings that we can put DuctQuote into here for what are called open ends. That's the ends or the inlets of these vertical drops. In manual, that means that we manually create and manually define all of those parameters we talked about. We're going to use the automatic, which relies only on knowing those two things we mentioned, the target velocity and having the vertical sized correctly. So in automatic, the only thing left to do is click Calculate. And what we get first is a summary page. Well, it's showing us that the system is going to pull just about 2,850 CFM total volume. So we're going to need about a 2,900 to a 3,000 CFM fan. And over here, we've got the static pressure, 3.6 inches water column. Now, if we need to know individual details throughout the system at each section, we can click on Duct Details, and it will give us section by section all of that same information, including how it calculates that summary number, what the run is. This is all based on ASHRAE regulations. So if I close here and we look now, you'll notice that our duct has changed size. We've now got a 10-inch drop to our collector. You'll also notice, if we zoom in nicely here, that our branches are now reducing branches, which is a wonderful thing. So DuctQuote has sized this system for us, and all we had to do was know two things. Those two things were the target velocity of the system and the size of the vertical drops or the ports. Now, to get a bill of materials for this, all we have to do is click Process. Now that it's been sized, DuctQuote will go through and give us a count of the pipe, of the adjustable sleeves, the elbows, the clamps, and the branches. Simple as that. You're now able to use DuctQuote system to set up, to draw, to size, and build a bill of materials for a duct system. Now, To learn more, you should proceed to the next training segments, but by all means, start adding your projects to DuctQuote. Draw live projects. You know enough by now to do that. So, with that, hope to see you at the next segment where we're going to talk about adding equipment and manually defining those connections.